It was a tense evening in May 2025 when White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt made the mistake that would destroy her career forever. During a Fox News special on global leadership in the 21st century, she was debating IBRAHIM Traoré via satellite from Ouagadougou. What began as a civil discussion about international politics quickly degenerated when Tucker Carlson asked about Africa's growing influence in world affairs. Karoline, how do you see the rise of young leaders like President Traoré? Karoline smiled with an arrogance that would become infamous. Tucker, let's be honest about reality. IBRAHIM Traoré may have charisma and a good speech, but real leadership requires more than just fancy speeches. She paused dramatically, clearly preparing something devastating. Frankly, he's just another African dictator with a good press office. He came to power by military coup and is now trying to rebrand himself as a Democrat. His next words sealed his fate. America cannot take seriously leaders who came to power by trampling on constitutions. IBRAHIM Traoré is fundamentally illegitimate, and any success, he claims, is propaganda manufactured for gullible Western audiences. The Fox News control room fell into shocked silence. Tucker Carlson blinked several times, clearly not expecting such a direct and personal attack. On the split screen, IBRAHIM remained calmly seated, but something in his eyes had definitely changed. "Ms. Leavitt," he said in a dangerously calm voice, "thank you for making your true views so clear. Now allow me to clarify a few things about legitimacy and real leadership." In Ouagadougou, IBRAHIM's aides glanced at each other nervously. They knew that tone. Karoline Leavitt had just awakened something she was not prepared to face. "This is going to be interesting," murmured Dr. Alphonse Ouedraogo, the foreign minister, watching from his home. IBRAHIM Traoré took a deep breath, mentally organizing the systematic destruction he was about to inflict. "Ms. Leavitt, since you question my legitimacy, let's examine a few facts that apparently escaped your research." His voice remained polite, but with a steely edge. "First, about the military coup. We removed a government that had lost all popular support, was selling off national resources to foreign corporations, while 67% of the population lived in extreme poverty." Tucker Carlson leaned forward, sensing that the debate had taken an explosive turn. "Since then, we have held 4 free municipal elections with 89% turnout, higher than any recent American election. International observers from 23 countries have confirmed complete transparency." Karoline tried to interrupt. "That doesn't change the fact—" "I'm not finished," IBRAHIM said firmly, the first time he had shown any irritation. "About the fabricated propaganda. Our results are verified by the World Bank, the IMF, UNESCO, the WHO, and interestingly, by the American government itself." On the screen appeared graphs prepared by IBRAHIM's team. GDP grew 127% in 3 years. Extreme poverty fell from 67% to 23%. Infant mortality fell 58%. Literacy rate rose from 34% to 81%. "These numbers come from American agencies, Mrs. Leavitt. Are you calling your own government a liar?" Karoline was visibly uncomfortable. "Well, numbers can be manipulated. You can visit Burkina Faso yourself and check," IBRAHIM offered with a cold smile. "Unlike you, I'm not afraid to show real results for international scrutiny." "By the way," IBRAHIM continued inexorably, "about questioning the legitimacy of other leaders. How many popular votes did President Trump lose before he took office? How many times has the American electoral system ignored the will of the majority?" Karoline's silence was becoming awkward. IBRAHIM was just warming up. IBRAHIM decided to escalate his attack methodically. "But let's go beyond numbers. Ms. Leavitt, let's talk about real leadership versus political theater." He gestured to the documents on his desk. In the last 3 years, I've built 2,147 schools, 73 hospitals, 340 community health centers. I've created a universal healthcare system that serves 94% of the population. Compare that to America. 45,000 people die annually from lack of healthcare. 37 million live in poverty. Infrastructure is crumbling. Karoline tried to regain ground. But America is much bigger, more complex. Exactly, Ibrahim said, smiling for the first time. America has a budget 200 times bigger than ours. If they can't solve basic problems with unlimited resources, what kind of real leadership does that show? Tucker Carlson was clearly fascinated. President Traoré, those are very direct comparisons. They are necessary, Mr. Carlson, when someone questions my legitimacy as a representative of a system that consistently fails to serve its own people. Ibrahim looked directly at Karoline. Ms. Leavitt, you called me a dictator. Let's examine that accusation. Dictators jail opponents. We have a free press that criticizes me daily. Dictators control elections. Ours are watched internationally. Dictators live in luxury. I earn a public salary and donate 60% to education. Dictators also, Ibrahim paused for effect, attack other leaders with propaganda instead of facts, just as you just did. Karoline was now visibly shaking. That's not fair. Truth is rarely comfortable, Ibrahim replied with devastating calm, especially when it exposes the hypocrisy of those who accuse others of failings in their own system. But I am not finished answering your accusations, Ms. Leavitt. We still have much to discuss about legitimacy. Ibrahim decided it was time to bring out the information he had been saving for the perfect moment. Ms. Leavitt, since you care so much about legitimacy, perhaps we should discuss American attempts to undermine elected African governments. Documents flashed on the screen that made Karoline instantly pale. Operation Sahel Interference, CIA documents from 2024, showing $67 million spent trying to destabilize African governments, including mine. Tucker Carlson was in shock. President, are these documents authentic? Verified by intelligence agencies from 6 allied countries, Ibrahim confirmed. Ms. Leavitt represents an administration that spent $67 million trying to overthrow democratically supported African governments. So when you talk about legitimacy, you mean from the perspective of a government that actively works to overthrow leaders who do not serve American interests? Karoline tried to deny it. I don't know anything about these operations. Of course not, Ibrahim said sarcastically. Press secretary would not be briefed on illegal destabilization operations. But since you represent this administration, perhaps you should explain why America spends tens of millions trying to overthrow African leaders who improve the lives of their people. Is it because our success exposes the failures of the American model? Because we have proven that small countries can do more with less than corrupt superpowers? Karoline was now visibly crying. Please, this is going too far. Too far, Ibrahim repeated incredulously. You called me an illegitimate dictator on world television, but I am going too far by responding with facts? Ms. Leavitt, you represented a government that spends billions trying to control Africa, but when a young African leader responds, suddenly I am the one crossing the line. Tucker tried to interject. Perhaps we should... No, Ibrahim said firmly. Ms. Leavitt wanted a discussion of legitimacy. Let's end it properly. Ibrahim decided to strike a blow that would completely destroy any remaining credibility Karoline had. But there's something else, Ms. Leavitt. Something personal that explains why you're so hostile to my success. He paused, dramatically, savoring the moment. Your family owns shares in Greystone Mining Corporation, a company that lost $2.3 billion in mining concessions when I renegotiated contracts to benefit the Burkinabe people instead of American shareholders. Karoline went white as a sheet. How do you know that? Because unlike you, I do my research before I make public accusations, Ibrahim replied with a cold smile. Public documents show that your parents own $340,000 in Greystone stock. Your hostility isn't about democracy, it's about family money. You're attacking me because my policies have cost your family profits. That's a massive conflict of interest that should have been declared. Tucker Carlson was completely shocked. Karoline, is that true? Karoline was now sobbing, I don't control my parents' investments. But you control your tongue, Ibrahim said mercilessly, and you chose to use your official position to personally attack a foreign leader who has affected family financial interests. This is not diplomacy, Mrs. Leavitt. This is personal revenge disguised as official policy. So when you talk about legitimacy, you are really talking about the legitimacy of using public office to protect the family's private investments. This is the true face of American politics. Officials using positions of power to protect personal financial interests while accusing others of corruption. Karoline was now completely broken, crying uncontrollably. Please stop. Why should you stop? Ibrahim asked. You started by attacking my legitimacy. Now we find out that your attacks were motivated by personal greed. This is a lesson in the consequences of underestimating African leaders, Mrs. Leavitt. We are no longer easy targets for imperial propaganda. The silence in the studio was deafening. As Karoline sobbed uncontrollably, Ibrahim decided to deliver the coup de grace that would permanently define this historic destruction. But there is one final irony, Ms. Leavitt, that perfectly encapsulates the hypocrisy of American politics. His voice was now thick with absolute authority. While you attack me as an illegitimate dictator, documents show that the CIA has attempted to assassinate me 3 times in the past 2 years. Tucker Carlson nearly fell out of his chair. What? Operation Termination Alpha, approved by the very government you represent, Ibrahim said calmly. 3 assassination attempts on a democratically elected president because my policies threatened American corporate profits. So when you speak of legitimacy, you are representing a government that is literally trying to assassinate African leaders who do not comply. Karoline was now hyperventilating. I swear I did not know. Ignorance is no defense. When you use your official position to attack the targets of American assassination attempts, Ibrahim said mercilessly, you are complicit, whether you know it or not. This is the reality of American leadership. They try to kill me when they can't control me, then send their press secretary to call me illegitimate on TV. Ms. Leavitt, your administration has spent $67 million on destabilization, tried to assassinate me 3 times, and now you have the audacity to question my legitimacy. Ibrahim looked directly into the camera. America, see the true face of your foreign policy. Assassination attempts against democratic leaders followed by smear campaigns by corrupt officials with financial conflicts of interest. And when these leaders respond with facts, they cry that it's going too far. Karoline had removed her microphone and was walking out of the studio, completely devastated. This is the difference between real leadership and political theater. Ibrahim concluded, real leaders face truth, corrupt politicians run when exposed. Tucker Carlson was completely silent, clearly realizing that he had witnessed the most complete political destruction in the history of television. In the minutes after Karoline Leavitt was completely destroyed, global social media exploded like never before. Karoline destroyed, Traoré truth and Das assassination attempts went viral simultaneously with millions of posts per minute. Holy shit, IBRAHIM TRAORÉ just obliterated Karoline Leavitt live on air. CIA tried to assassinate African president, and then they sent their secretary to attack him on TV. Karoline cried like a baby when IBRAHIM exposed her family's conflicts of interest. At Fox News, executives were running around in a panic. "Cut all reruns," shouted the executive producer, "and prepare an emergency declaration." At the White House, Trump was watching live as his press secretary was annihilated. "What the fuck was that?" he yelled to aides. "How could they let this African destroy Karoline on national television?" "Sir, she provoked him," the chief of staff tried to explain. "We didn't know he had this information." "Information?" Trump exploded. "He exposed CIA operations and assassination attempts. How the hell did he get these documents?" At Langley, the CIA headquarters went into total lockdown. "We have a massive national security leak," declared acting director. "IBRAHIM TRAORÉ has access to top-secret operations." Senators from both parties demanded immediate investigations. If the CIA really tried to assassinate a democratically elected president, that's a war crime, declared a Democratic senator. "Heads need to roll, starting now." Journalists were racing for the story of the century. The Washington Post and the New York Times had mobilized full teams to verify IBRAHIM's claims of assassination attempts and destabilization operations. "If half of what IBRAHIM said is true," said the Post's editor, "this is the biggest political scandal in American history." Karoline had barricaded herself in her home, her phone turned off, refusing to comment. Her political career had ended in a matter of minutes, destroyed by a young African leader she had catastrophically underestimated. "She provoked a lion thinking it was a kitten," commented political analyst. IBRAHIM TRAORÉ has just redefined international diplomacy. Within 48 hours of Karoline's destruction, the Senate and House Intelligence Committees convened emergency hearings. Leaked documents confirmed IBRAHIM's every claim about assassination attempts and destabilization operations. "Mr. Director," Senator Chuck Schumer confronted, "documents show 3 approved assassination attempts against President Traoré. How do you explain that?" The acting CIA director stammered, "Senator, I can neither confirm nor deny." "You cannot?" The Republican senator yelled. "Assassination attempts against an allied president are not political games. They are war crimes." The evidence was overwhelming. Internal CIA emails discussing permanent neutralization of IBRAHIM, wire transfers to hired assassins, detailed plans for 3 failed operations. This administration authorized assassination attempts against a democratically elected leader, the Democratic congressman summarized with horror. "This goes beyond Watergate. This is murderous imperialism." Worse still, the investigation revealed that Karoline knew, in part about anti-Traoré operations, but chose to publicly attack him anyway. Emails show she was briefed on sensitive operations in Burkina Faso, the NSA whistleblower testified. She knew IBRAHIM was a target, and yet she attacked him on TV. Trump tried to distance himself. "I never authorized assassination attempts. CIA acted alone, but documents showed his signature on several authorizations. President lied to the American people and Congress," declared the Speaker of the House. "Impeachment proceedings begin tomorrow." Meanwhile, IBRAHIM received calls from world leaders expressing shock and support. "President Traoré, France categorically condemns American attempts on your life," Macron said. "Europe stands with Burkina Faso." Putin was more blunt. "America showed its true face. Terrorist state that assassinates democratic leaders." China offered security protection. President Traoré protected Chinese interests when renegotiated mining contracts fairly. We protect our friends. Ibrahim had turned Karoline's personal attack into a diplomatic revolution that isolated America globally. A week after Ibrahim's revelations, America faced an unprecedented diplomatic crisis. 47 countries condemned assassination attempts. 23 expelled American diplomats, and the African Union severed official ties with Washington. America has lost all moral credibility, declared the AU president. We do not negotiate with governments that assassinate democratic leaders. Trump, facing imminent impeachment, tried desperately to gain control. Ibrahim Traoré forged documents, fake news. America never attempted assassinations, but the evidence was irrefutable. Whistleblowers emerged from the CIA, NSA, and Pentagon, confirming every detail Ibrahim revealed. President Traoré told the absolute truth, testified a former CIA operative. We tried to kill him 3 times because he refused to submit to American corporate interests. Karoline, meanwhile, faced criminal charges for using official position to attack the victim of attempted American assassinations. She knew enough to be an accomplice, declared a federal prosecutor. Using official position to attack an assassination target constitutes obstruction of justice. More devastating still, countries began switching sides massively. Ibrahim Traoré survived American assassination attempts and exposed truth to the world, said President of Brazil. This man has courage that America lacks. Even longtime allies questioned relationship. How can we trust a country that attempts assassinations and then lies about it? Asked Canadian Prime Minister. Ibrahim, meanwhile, had become a global hero. Universities worldwide offer honorary degrees. Nobel Committee considered Special Peace Prize for surviving assassination attempts while promoting non-violent conflict resolution. President Traoré showed that truth is most powerful weapon, wrote Guardian editorialist. Single TV appearance destroyed American credibility more effectively than any military could. In final twist, polling showed that 73% of Americans supported Trump's impeachment and prosecution of officials involved in assassination attempts. Our own people turned against us, muttered Trump aide. Ibrahim Traoré didn't just destroy Karoline, he destroyed entire imperial project. 6 meses após Ibrahim Traoré destruir Karoline Leavitt na TV, world order havia fundamentalmente changed. Trump foi impeached e removido, facing criminal charges for authorizing assassination attempts. Karoline estava na prisão federal por obstruction of justice e using public office para personal vengeance. Ibrahim, meanwhile, havia se tornado most respected leader globally. Address to UN General Assembly foi watched por 2 billion people, largest audience in UN history. 6 months ago, American official called me illegitimate dictator, ele disse. Para standing ovation. Today, world knows who truly threatens democracy. His speech announced African Renaissance Initiative, partnership entre 54 African countries para independency on former colonial powers. We proved que Africa doesn't need America's permission para succeed, declarou ele. Our success exposes their failures. China, Russia and Europe competed para partnerships com Africa under Ibrahim's leadership. President Traoré showed que sovereignty cannot be purchased or intimidated, disse Chinese premier. Africa is partner, not colony. American corporations lost trillions in African markets. Greystone Mining, Karoline's family company, went bankrupt quando all African countries terminated contracts. Karoline attacked Ibrahim para protect family money, noted financial analyst. Instead, she destroyed companies she tried to save. In ultimate irony, Ibrahim established Karoline Leavitt Institute para study of diplomatic failures in University of Ouagadougou. She taught world-important lesson about consequences de underestimating Africa, explained Ibrahim during dedication ceremony. Her name will remind future diplomats never to confuse arrogance com competence. Trump, awaiting trial in federal prison, gave rare interview. That African kid destroyed everything in one TV show. Never underestimated anybody worse in my life. Karoline, serving 8-year sentence, declined comment. But sources reported she watched Ibrahim's Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech from prison, crying as he said, "Sometimes our greatest enemies give us greatest gifts. Karoline Leavitt tried to destroy me and instead gave me platform para change world. For that, I'm eternally grateful." World had learned, never underestimate young African leader who fights back come truth.